13th. If everybody's ready, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, tonight at our regular meeting, we're going to start with the opening of the meeting. We have number 2, approval of the agenda. 2.1, we have some changes. I believe on the consent agenda, we're going to add 7.32, tag on bid purchase over $50,000 with Holbrook Manufacturing. Any discussion, colleagues, on that one? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on. Number 3 will be recognitions. Number 4, administrative personnel appointments. Number 5 is always 5.1, that's agenda items, blue card only. Agenda items only, which is the blue card. We will have number 6, committee and staff reports. Seeing none tonight, we're going to move into the consent agenda. 7.1 is the approval. 7.2, we have approval of the minutes of the workshop meeting of 6/22, the workshop, and then the meeting itself on 6/22. 7.3, request to advertise a public hearing of the revision of School Board Policy 0121. This is the wellness policy presented by Ms. Cato and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.4, we're going to do request for advertising a public hearing of the revision of School Board Policy 0425. This is administering medicines to students presented by Ms. Schroeder, the Program Director of Student Services, and is recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.5 is going to be a request to advertise a public hearing for the revision of School Board Policy 0503, directory information. This one's presented by Mr. Spolsky and recommended by the superintendent for approval.
Mr. Destin, would it be all right if we go back to the administering medicines?
Absolutely.
Ms. Schroeder, I see you're here. Real quick, is this something that the law has changed that's causing us to change the policy?
Yes, sir. The legislature changed the epinephrine from auto-injector to any type of epinephrine devices, which now includes Neffy, which is a nasal, and any other types of epinephrine devices.
Yeah, usually when these things come up, it's usually because
Yes,
the
sir.
law has changed.
Yes,
and allows us a little bit more flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Schroeder.
Thank you, Mr. Destin.
You bet. Okay, we're going to pivot back to 7.5. This was a request to advertise a public hearing for the revision of School Board Policy 0503, directory information. And I believe this is a public hearing, the amendment under the new policy deal with the classification of certain students' athletic and extracurricular participation information and student information. I actually had a question about this one. Mr. Spolsky, can you give us some background on this one?
Yes, sir. This is 5-03, sir. And Mr. McGinnis and Ms. Richards and myself went through this policy. We added grade level, we added honors classification, and as you mentioned, also some extracurricular language that will help us, specifically with the students that are participating in those activities, as well as with some of the software programs that allow our schools to unfold those activities. So.
Terrific.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay. Okay, 7.6, this is a request to advertise a public hearing for the adoption of instructional materials for secondary science and career and technical education, reproductive health, disease education for 26-27 school year. This one is presented by Ms. Ellis and recommended by the superintendent. 7.7, oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to, for the record, for the people that are watching, on the school board policy, we review those every year. We use, 5 chapters every year, is that it?
Yes, on a rolling basis.
On a rolling basis. So every 3 years, we have gone through the whole policy. So,
And other policies are revised as legislation changes annually, so there could be more than 5 chapters looked at. We do 5 entire chapters each year, so that every 3 years, the entire manual has been reviewed.
and these, were they for statute changes, or these are normal annual review?
Some of these are rule or statute changes, others are changes just based upon operational matters that have come up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. 7.7, this is budget amendment number 9, fiscal year 25-26, presented by Ms. Perry, the CFO, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Seeing no discussion from colleagues, we're going to move to 7.8. This is the monthly financial statement ending on May the 31st, 2026, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.9, invoices to be approved for payment presented by Ms. Perry, CFO, recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.10, these are school donations presented by Ms. Perry, CFO, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Mr. Heinley?
Yes, strong start, $45,890.86 for the start of the fiscal year. Number one went to $32,995.86 from Destin Middle School PTSA to help them out over there. So really strong start. I would like to accentuate that we need to get the timely acceptance of the letters from the people when they donate. So I've noticed that some of them are in a year, like a month or two. So in the past, so because it's great we get the money, and those schools need to put those letters in timely. Thank you.
Mr. Destin, might I just add something to that? Mr. Heinley, you're exactly right. That's a tremendous amount of real cash. I mean, those are real dollars that are given to the schools. But I'd also like to point out something that sometimes might be, I don't want to say overlooked, but maybe just a little bit. But if there was ever a way to calculate the value of the dollars that we receive from people based on their volunteer services and how much they contribute to this school system, I venture to say that it would be in the millions of dollars. So I just wanted to add that because sometimes we might not think about that. So that's all. Thank you.
All right. Colleagues, let's go over to 711. This is authorization to advertise the proposed preliminary tentative budget and millage rate for fiscal year 26-27. This one's presented by Julie Perry, the CFO, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Do we have any discussion on this one?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Heinley?
Great breakdown on the millage. Basically, this is for the public. Basically, 3 millage rates out there, and we cannot increase our millage. We are at the max, and the only one we really can mess with is, well, we really can't mess with any of them. They're all at their max. We got 1.5, the RLE 7.4, and the state dictates theirs. So during this election process, there's been some misinformation out there. I want to tell everyone that this board cannot raise the millage past what the law is giving us right now.
Correct, and we can't, the required local effort, I think I saw an article about someone saying that we're not rolling back our millage enough, and we don't have a choice. We have to charge what the state tells us to charge, required local effort. Right now, it's...
Terry, may I interject and just ask a question
Yes, sir.
about that? If I remember correctly, I think at one time, if we did not adopt the millage that we were told to adopt, that it would have cost the school district at that time about $86 million.
Right, and I have the amount, this for 26-27, it would cost us $145.5 million.
So there's no real choice there.
No, sir.
Right.
No, sir. And at this point, it's projected to go down about 0.05 mil. I won't have the actual required local effort until July 19th, but it'll be enough time to be able to get this, the advertisement out. We're required to advertise 2 to 3 days before the preliminary and tentative budget is adopted. And just a reminder that not only the required local effort, we have to collect what they say, the discretionary operating, it's got the word in there, discretionary, at 0.748, but everyone collects that max amount. The state expects us to collect it. They calculate that as part of our FEFP, that we are going to collect that. And if we don't collect the 1.5 on capital, we only get $1 million from the state for capital.
That's right. And
So-
the 1.5 brings us probably 45 million or something.
47.
47 million. So what I want the public to understand, in most taxing authorities in the county and throughout the state, all taxing authorities have a board set up to govern their fiduciary responsibility, which is the taxes. And all the ones except for the school board's a little unique, is they have a rollback rate. And that rollback rate means if your assessed values go up, you can lower your millage to come out with the exact same as you had the year before. Well, our hands are tied because the state gives their rate, and then we have the 1.5 and the 0.74A. So rollback rate really doesn't apply to us because those monies are already called for and what have you. So that's the big difference between the school board and other taxing authorities throughout the county.
And remember that even though this millage rate will most likely go down according to the estimates, we will be advertising a proposed tax increase because there's new construction and values have gone up. That means that the amount of money that we collect would go up a little bit.
And explain the tax increase.
So the tax increase is strictly based on dollars as far as they look at, like I said, if there was no change, if there had been no new construction, if property values had not changed, our taxes would be going down. But because there's new construction and increased property, even though the millage rate went down, or it's probably going to go down according to the preliminary estimates, the revenue that we generate will go up a little bit, which is why it's called a proposed tax increase.
So make sure that I say this correctly. So when property values go up, and even though the tax rate goes down statutorily, we are required to say it's a tax increase.
Exactly.
Even though truly it's not a tax increase in terms of the millage.
Correct.
I'm just curious, Mr. McInnes, are we still required to run an ad in the newspaper, or how? I mean, I know we have to advertise, I just wondered how we do that now.
We run, I think that I've been running the ads on the
On our
district's
district
website,
website.
but we still have to run an ad that says there's a tax increase.
Right, okay.
What we do is we run an ad once a year that says where any budget ads are going to be on our website, and we give the website.
And we do
And
that.
so now I put all of my budget ads on the website.
Okay, interesting, just curious.
But for the public to really understand, we are having a tax rate decrease. Our millage rate is decreasing.
Unless the state comes back and tells us to.
And that's all dictated from the state. And the overall money brought in might change because of the revenue, the assessed values. But our millage rate will be actually less than it was last year, according to the state.
According, yes, right now, according to the state.
And who assesses the property? Who's the entity that assesses the?
That would be the county.
And that's what I'm getting.
Yes,
It's not us.
yes,
It's not
so
us.
it's not that, and it's also, like I said, new construction, right? So that plays into it. Any other questions?
For the public's view too, way back in the day, not too long ago, our millage for our construction was 2.0. And when we had a decrease in the state revenue, they dropped it 1.5, and I read it, and they said, well, we're gonna bring that back to 2.0. Well, we've never seen it since then. And that is strictly for our construction, our infrastructure. And that's why the half-cent sales tax is so important.
It is, and we used to get some money from the state for capital, but we don't. We haven't in a long time. And just a thought, 31 years ago, the required local effort was 6.53.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Any other further discussion? Superintendent? Okay. Sean, you good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, friends. We're going to move on. We'll do 7.12. This is a resolution 2606, exercising flexibility to transfer the funds allocated to the school district from the funds received for academic acceleration options, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.13, sole source number 26-16 IXL learning. This is presented by Vince Wyndham, Program Director, and recommended by the Superintendent. Okay. 7.14, this is tag on bid IDB 4126AH, small wares and small equipment, presented by Mr. Wyndham. Recommended by the superintendent for approval. If I was reading it correctly, this is just so that we can be prepared to purchase small wares, perhaps for Pineview and some of these new kitchen areas that we have built. That's, okay, I'm getting a nod, okay. 7.15, tag on bid purchase over 50,000. This is Apple, presented by Mr. Wyndham, program director, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. May I ask a quick question on this one? This is about $88,000 on iPads. What's the intended use for these devices?
We have Ms. Ellis coming forward.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Ellis.
So we've had a 2022 DODEA grant.
Here, hit the button.
Sorry. We have a 2022 DODEA grant that was $2 million. This is our last year. It'll end in March. This is to refresh iPads for what we call our TEC teachers, Technology Enhanced Classrooms. They were given a 13-inch iPad Pro at the beginning of the grant 4 years ago. So this is to replace that device before the end of the grant.
And these devices won't actually be in the hands of students, but rather the faculty?
The teachers.
Perfect, great. Thank you for
I
that.
have a question. And so, since this was a grant, we purchased these versus the seat management where we basically lease them.
Correct. This is 100% funded by DODEA.
Thank you very much.
And I have a question also, not for you, Ms. Ellis, but it might be for the superintendent. Mr. Wyndham might be able to answer it. I've been watching with some interest in the price of hardware, computer-related materials, iPads, and those kind of things. And so, Mr. Wyndham, I'm just kind of wondering if we're starting to see that too, maybe in the purchases and those kinds of things that you might be doing. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for all that info. All right, moving to 7.16, tag on bid purchase over 50,000 train, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.17, service agreement number 27-12, Shalo Cyber Solutions LLC, presented by Mr. Wyndham, recommended by the superintendent. 7.18, this is service agreement number 27-13, Stephen Bear, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.19, service agreement 2715, James Kempfer, presented by Vince Wyndham, program director, recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.20, service agreement 2716, Jason J. Peterson, presented by Mr. Wyndham, recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.21, service agreement 2717, Heath Bloomer, presented by Mr. Wyndham, recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.22, this is a service agreement 2720, Blake Dickinson, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.23, service agreement 2727, Remarkable Arts, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent for approval.
Mr. Destin, I have
Yes, sir.
not a question, but maybe an explanation to this. Is this going to be part of our new strategy as we move into next year with arts and?
Yes, sir. So this is part of the Okaloosa Reimagine. As you know, the vast majority of our schools have music and PE. There are a few that have, or a little bit more than a few that have PE, music, and art, but this will be the supplemental piece that will allow all of our students to have the joy and the pleasure of having art as well.
In every elementary school?
Yes, sir, unless they already have it.
Correct.
And I believe if they already have it, there's a rotation that'll also come to them to provide that experience.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. It's deeply important. I know that a lot of parents reached out to me during my election cycle, and they were concerned that art was sort of missing at certain elementary schools, and the passion that you feel and the importance of the arts, making sure that we have that in every school is deeply important, and I think responsive to what they're asking for. So I appreciate you and your staff for pushing that.
Thank you.
Okay. 7.24, this is Service Agreement 2760, the agreement with Oak Strategies presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.25, sale and disposal of surplus property presented by Mr. McElroy and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Colleagues, any issues on that one? Okay. 7.26, requesting permission to raise funds for a self-help project to build a kindergarten discovery campus at Antioch Elementary, presented by Mr. Keith and recommended by the superintendent for approval. This is kind of exciting.
Yes, and I see they've requested a self-help, but I know I've already personally been approached, and I do believe that, I don't know if I thought I talked to maybe Grant or maybe Mr. Keith over there about, maybe having some skin in the game on this one too. So, but I do appreciate the fact that they're trying to do it internally and all. So there will be more to come on this, I'm sure, after everything's approved here in the next couple of meetings. So.
Well, the concept that was presented to us looks awesome.
Yeah, if you go into the school, it's right there, right on the right-hand side, and they have a black tarp that covers that area up for safety reasons, but there's plenty of room in there to do a really nice innovation piece like this. And I know the folks that are involved in it are really excited about getting this done. So hopefully, we'll put some skin in the game on this one. So.
Well, good on Antioch. It's on brand for those guys. When they know they want to do something or adversity hits, they figure things out. I was always impressed with how they handled the road construction outside the school. This is on brand for Antioch, just figuring it out.
Well, speaking of roads, I mean, we will. We've been excited about the future up there, so I know that we do have plans in place to help when the big construction gets started here pretty soon. So.
Terrific. Okay, 7.27, listing agreement for commercial property between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida and RE/MAX Agency 1 Incorporated for the sale of the real property located at 320 Miracle Street Parkway, Mary Esther, Florida, presented by Mr. Keith and recommended by the superintendent for approval.
So, Mr. Destinati,
Yes.
I would like to ask the attorney, and I know Mr. McGinnis, outside of being our school board attorney, you have a lot of practice in commercial real estate and all that, as far as closings and all that. I'm not a realtor. I did stay at Holiday Inn Express last night, so I can't understand everything that's on that contract, but I was wondering if you could kind of go down and explain the terms and everything and how we got to that point with this.
Sure. The agreement that's in front of the board tonight is a standard listing agreement for commercial property. I mean, I say that versus residential property. This is a form that's generated and used by the Florida Realtors Association, so it's standard. The firm that is being proposed, RE/MAX Agency 1, that firm was selected in an RFP process that the board went through probably 2 years ago, Mr. Wyndham. So there was an open public solicitation for services for a broker to handle surplus properties for the district. This firm was selected by the board. The commission rates were part of that proposal, and so this proposal in front of you tonight for this listing agreement is consistent with that public RFP. This agreement contains a listing price of $9,600,000 that was developed based upon appraisals the district has received for that property. The property and all the improvements will be listed for sale. No contents go with this. The contents of the buildings will be taken out or belong to the district. The commission is 5% to the listing broker, and the agreement allows the listing broker to offer from the 5% a 2% commission if there's a selling broker. If another broker brings the contract in, then out of the 5%, this agreement allows 2% to be paid to the selling broker. It is not 5 plus 2, it's a total of 5%. The 2 would come out of that.
So basically the listed agent would get 3%.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. So in your opinion, which we do value, you believe this is a fair contract that we would be voting on tonight?
Yes, sir. I think it's fair, and I think it's consistent with the public proposal that you put out, seeking proposals from realtors to do this kind of work for the board.
Well, and I appreciate the fact that you said consistent, so.
Yes, sir.
It's consistent with what we've done in the past.
That's exactly right.
And would it be appropriate to ask, and are we allowed to discuss the appraisal? Have we had an appraisal of that property?
We've actually had 2.
All right.
And this price here, I think, is an average of the 2 appraisals.
All right. And those appraisal values came in roughly, I mean, it's public knowledge, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir. And that, like I said, the listing price is $9,600,000. I don't have the exact appraisal numbers in front of me.
Yeah,
But
I'll make sure I understood, $9,600,000.
Is the listing price that we're proposing for that property,
Wow.
based upon appraised value.
Well, we get it.
Well, and this contract is for a year, right? So they have a year to sell
It's for a year, but the board has the ability to terminate this listing agreement at any time if you change your mind and determine you're not gonna sell the property or you're gonna do something differently. There is an out clause here, so you can terminate it. I think there's a $300 termination fee. Now, obviously, after you terminate it, you can't turn around and sell it to somebody that had already been working with the realtor. If so, we would owe the commission to the realtor, but that's standard.
Right, okay. Well, I appreciate you taking time to explain that. You know, there's a lot of pieces that come before us and, you know, technical, and we're fortunate that you have that background in real estate law too to help us out here. So thank you for explaining that.
And Mr. Bryan, I thank you for the question because it does help inform the public and even the part about the appraisal so that folks know what we're looking at. Thank you.
And I'll just add one thing, Mr. Destin, in whatever dollars are received, these are capital dollars. So these are not personnel dollars or anything like that. These are capital dollars.
Required by Florida statute.
That's right.
And the other question I have, so the deposit, so if someone is serious, they want to buy this, it's a 5% of gross sales as the deposit, according there, just so the public knows that it's on 4A is a part of the contract, which is pretty standard. So that's right.
No, 4A is the commission, sales commission, 5% sales commission.
Oh, okay. Let's see, in the event deposits be retained, it says 50% if left blank.
Right, if you had a contract in place and all of a sudden the buyer breached the contract and we were to retain the deposit, then there would be a provision, which is not unusual, that there would be a portion of that to the broker for the services they rendered in delivering that contract.
Got it.
Any further comments? It's a very good discussion. It's important for the public to hear some of this stuff. Superintendent, thank you for your remarks with regards to that the money that is derived is set aside as a categorical. It was used for, capital, and it'll stay that way. So we only have so many options once the money is received from the sale to what we can do with it. So, it's good for the public to understand that so that they can keep that in mind when they say, well, you just sold the property for $9 million, you should have $9 million to spend on this. If it's not capital, we can't.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the last big piece of real estate that we did sell was the Bay Area offices, and the money that came from that could only be used for capital improvements that allowed us to do this facility right here. So we really had our hands tied on that too. So that's a good observation there. So our hands are tied on a lot of this stuff sometimes when it goes back in on where you can actually spend it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the constant discussion I have with the general public whenever I'm chatting with them. That's what we keep bumping into. I know Mr. Heinley's bumping into it during his election cycle. Right now, it's the reality that the money is deeply handcuffed and constrained. And so while you might be well funded in one pot of money, the other pot of money could be bone dry and you can't borrow. The checkbook doesn't act the same way that it does in our household.
And I just have to add, Mr. Destin, that's why there are graduate level courses in school finance, because it is unique and discrete from just about every other kind. So thank you.
All right, good discussion. Okay, 7.28, this is the Trim Care Services Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida and Weatherproofing Technologies. It's a subsidiary of Trimco, and this is to provide roof warranties, presented by Mr. Keith and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Okay. 7.29, quarterly school safety compliance report. This is the fourth quarter of 25-26 in accordance with Rule 6A 1.00184F of the Florida Administrative Code. This is presented by Mr. Dean, who is the Director of Office of Safe Schools, and it's recommended by the superintendent for approval. Okay. 7.30, this is the Telco Task Order number 006, OTC North. Cabling project presented by Joe Peterson, the specialist seat management, recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.31, sole source number 26-17. This is the HMM Read 180 presented by Vince Wyndham, recommended by the superintendent for approval. Dealing with software licenses. 7.32, this is the one we've added. This is the tag-on bid purchase over $50,000 with Holbrook Manufacturing, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Okay, moving right along, we're going to hop into the superintendent's human resource recommendations. We have 8.1. These are employees on administrative leave, presented by Ms. Maxey. We have 8.2. This is going to be information only. This is deferred retirement option program, presented by Ms. Maxey. 8.3, cleared certification requirements and issuance of contracts for the 2026-27 school year, presented by Ms. Duran, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 8.4, out-of-field report for the 26-27 school year, presented by Ms. Duran. This is recommended by the superintendent for approval. 8.5, employment separations. This one's presented by Ms. Maxey and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 8.6, personnel recommendations. This one's presented by Ms. Maxey and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 8.7 will be the employee transfers. This one's presented by Ms. Maxey and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 8.8, employee suspensions, presented by Ms. Maxey and recommended by the superintendent for approval. And then we shift over, final is 8.9. This is leave without pay. This is going to be presented by Ms. Maxey and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Number 9, discussion agenda. Number 10, construction program owners representatives business. Mr. Heinley, I'll leave it to you if you're ready.
I'm not, because we have our construction meeting following this meeting, so I'll give the report tonight.
Okay, so we'll then also after that go to 10.2. This is authorization for professional services for CMI price validation for the TPM program number 6. Task orders and scope modifications presented by Mr. Keith, and this one's recommended by the superintendent for approval.
And board, what this is, CMI is the company we use to validate all our work, and it's required and it's good business. So they validate and make sure that all the bids are in line.
Terrific. Okay, after that, we're going to move to the attorney's business. Mr. McGinnis? Okay, no report this morning. All right, superintendent, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. We do have a few items that we want to talk about, a few reports, and I go through the school grade data. As you know, the data came out at a time that was in between board meetings, so we've already pushed some information out, but want to go through that formally at a school board meeting as well. So we'll do that. I want to talk about the Fitch report here in a moment. I'm going to have Ms. Perry come forward. And the Fitch report deals with financial information, and we received a very high rating as it pertains to the work that happens in the finance department, but I want Mrs. Perry to go through that a little bit more. Going to talk a little bit about stuff the bus, but then have Mr. Meyer come up also, give us a indication of where we are with Destin Elementary. I will say Mr. Meyer and myself went to Pine View on Friday. Things are moving along very well. There's hundreds of workers there doing a great job. So it was amazing to see the progress from the last time I was there. So things are looking good, but every day is going to be important. And then we'll have Ms. Maxey also just give the board a brief update on where we are with hiring. Okay? So I want to go ahead and start with, as you know, every single year, the state of Florida is going to put out information on how we did as a school district in terms of student achievement. And first of all, I want to come right off the bat and say, just could not be more proud of our teachers, of our staff and administrators, our district staff, all working together. We're in a day and age now where the bar continues to rise. If you remember last year, this time, the current criteria for high schools, combination schools in the school district to be an A was different this time last year as it is currently, okay? And so to be an A this year, you had to get to the 66% mark, okay? Next year, we have to get to the 70% mark. So that criteria continues to go up, and it goes up statutorily. So to go up to the 70% mark is a substantial jump for next year. But again, just extremely proud of the work that's happening at the schools.
Mr. Chambers, or Mr. Destin, would it be all right? So, Mr. Chambers, real quick, so 66%, that number equates to 66% of what? Of who, what students?
So 66% of the total points, and what happens often, and I'm not a psychometrician, okay? And literally psychometricians are the ones who look at this data, they get the 66% or they get the 70%, but 66% of the point value is not A, B, C, D. So sometimes folks will go, well, 66%, that's a D. It's nowhere near in the realm of what I would call normal grading practices that you'll see in our schools. So this is dictated by those data metricians who do this work. So this happens at the state level. They determine what the cut values are for an A, B, C, D, and F. Every school district and school in the state of Florida, public school, are held to the same standards and accountability as it pertains to the point system that is in place determined by the state of Florida.
And I appreciate you explaining that, because it is that time of the year again where things could be said and misinterpreted. That 66, like you said, would be to most people, oh, that was barely passing when I was in school, but that's not exactly what that number represents as far as, you know, what we would interpret as a passing grade. It's well, Mr. Peterson's out there, so I know his world is, you know, a very complicated world when it comes to calculating all these things, but it's a number that, like you said, it's derived from the Department of Education, is that correct? Or
And just trying to pronounce psychometrician is already hard enough.
Yeah.
And so like if I had a dictionary, Joe Pete would be sitting there, and that's a psychometrician.
right. And we do appreciate Mr. Peterson. I wasn't saying that his world is, he does.
Well, and I'll say, because he calculates these numbers as they come in, because as you know, in this system, there's a PM1 that happens in, say, August, September, PM2, in the December-ish time frame, and then at the end of the year, PM3, which is the high stakes one. Joe Pete was spot on in almost every single category. He was spot on in terms of school grades, and he knew whether someone was on the AB line or someone was on the BC line. The amount of energy that goes into that, this gentleman literally hurts his wrists from being on that computer and shoulders, literally. But just really appreciate the work there. We have Beth Barnes, who also does a great job with the testing and making sure all of that goes smoothly, and Wendy Meserve also has a part in that. But getting that data is important because we get it real time now.
And can I just add one more thing to, you know, one of the things that we try to teach our kids is to be a lifelong learner. And so I myself have been kind of trying to follow through on that a little bit in terms of AI. and how those applications can be used. And so, Mr. Peterson, I hope that you are helping to train those AI models, because your expertise is probably unequaled as far as I know. But in any case, I would be interested to know if we might be able to deploy AI in some manner that might help us project and even plan for the increase that the superintendent just told us about. Yeah, sure.
Just a word of caution with AI, as with anything else that's been produced, you always have to double check. And the information that I prepared, I went ahead and threw an AI and did give out a description just to see how it matched up with mine. And when it came back out, it said that Niceville went from a B to an A, and which they clearly did not. They were an A both years. And when I questioned AI, I said, why did you get that wrong? When it was clearly in the data set that I sent them. He said that AI said that it went through it too quickly. And I'm thinking, how does a machine go through that too quickly? So I'm not fully sold on AI. It's
No,
a great
I
tool.
concur. I concur 1,000%. And in my limited understanding, I have found numerous errors when it does calculations and those kind of things, and you have to go back and continue to query it. However, I have found it useful in projecting and coming up with various kinds of strategies according to the formulas that might be helpful. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I understand from what my understanding is that it's only about a 125 now. But when it hits the 150 mark, we may be able to really use it.
Sure.
Well, and I think to your point, because we are utilizing AI also on the academic and student services side, but with the human intelligence as well. We used AI for the first time this year, process and programmatically with the school performance plan process, because we dumped all the data in, and it spit out information for us to continue to focus on. But then under Dr. Small and the principals, then they use their intelligence and their collaboration with their teachers to go even further or to validate.
Yeah, good. That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, thanks. I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so you can see here, talking about celebrating achievement and reaching higher. So the goal, obviously, each year is to show growth. One of my personal goals with our senior staff is growth, stated 3 times, growth, growth, growth. And like I've said 1,000 times, if a school goes from a C to a B, I'm very happy. A B to an A, I'm happy. Or a stronger C or a stronger B, make growth. And so we like to look over a 3-year history, kind of like how we're doing. And so you'll see here, and this is something that we've had for a while. You know, we're blessed to be one of 3 districts in the state since 2014. Every time a school grade was delivered to be an A. And the reason why I like this slide, it's not about bragging rights, it's not about, okay, you're an A, it's about things are getting more difficult. And times have changed. Dynamics have changed. And so what is on the backs of teachers nowadays, school principals nowadays, district staff nowadays, is pretty monumental. And there's a lot of brainstorming that goes in, and then just a lot of hard work in the classroom with our students. And students are being held to a higher level. So to continue to have that consistent academic excellence, I think is important. It's important for our teachers, it's important for our students and families, it's important for this community. And as that bar continues to rise, it'll be interesting to see what continues to happen in the future. But this is what's happened over the last 3 years, and this is point value. So the state of Florida, there's a point value that you get from the accumulation of all the testing categories. And 3 years ago, we were at 772 points, and we finally broke that 800 barrier over these last few years to get to 818 points. So continuing to go in the right direction. If you were to pull the curtain back and just see all that happens beyond just excellent instruction in the classroom, And if that curtain was back, you would see teachers collaborating together. You would see principals with teachers looking at data. You would see celebrations. You would see work that happens here at the district office. And again, I would say we're not perfect by any means. But what I will say is there's a lot of dang hard work going on to get this student achievement from the teacher side, the staff side, the principal side, the district office side. But then also what goes into this is you think about transportation, just the difficulty right now to get kids to school on time and get them home. But those who are going above and beyond in the transportation side. And so when I say staff, I mean it purposefully, because it's everybody coming together to be able to do this at a high level.
And Superintendent, I know and I believe your requirements and stipulations and your staff and your work with the schools and the principals on those school performance plans, I think that, I think the evidence is we're looking at the evidence of the effectiveness of those school improvement plans. I know you meet with those principals and you go through those areas very carefully, and it's kind of the plan, and looks like the plan's working. So, good job. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Superintendent, and to echo Mr. White's, or Dr. White's point, I mean, we're talking about 3 out of 67 counties. I know probably St. John's might be one of them. The other one, do you happen to know off the top of your head who the other county might have been?
I don't off the top of the head.
I think it's Sarasota.
I guess what I'll put a fine point on and let you move on to it, but we're talking about how remarkable it is to maintain that level of excellence, the challenge. I mean, when we talk about Tom Brady, the longevity to be number one for as long as he was. Michael Phelps, what he was able to accomplish at the 08 Olympics, 4 different strokes, 8 gold medals, being the best, turning around and beating people who had prepared their entire life. And those are just one individuals with a lot of God-given talent, good work ethic. What you guys are doing on this side, to put a fine point on it for the public, is we are maintaining excellence, but you're managing 3,000 employees to all perform at that level to maintain this sort of level of performance. It's remarkable, and I think deeply commendable.
Which I appreciate. And the reality is, in the state of Florida, this is the school accountability system that we have. And I know sometimes there are some who would like us to be an even higher A. Yeah, I would too. But we're continuing to go in the right direction. And again, there's a lot of hard work that goes in to get that trajectory going the right way. So I always say, I'm not going to apologize for not being a higher A. Our teachers, staff, administrators are doing a great job.
Real quick, Mr. Destin, you made a reference to Tom Brady. I think for the superintendent, Tom Landry was a great Dallas Cowboy coach member back in the day when they.
I would say so. Yeah.
That's always the risk with bringing sports in.
It is.
Step all over the live wires and exposed nerves.
But
He'll get me back.
No, I'll say right now, on July 13th at 9:49 a.m., that Dallas Cowboys will be winning the Super Bowl this year. Absolutely.
You said January?
And July 13th, I say that with seriousness. So then you look at graduation rates. If you go back to this time last year, we were sitting at we were about to get an 88% graduation rate. And the graduation rate is determined by every single senior in Okaloosa County. That's every single student in our traditional public schools, every student in charter schools, every student online, any student who takes, who's part of our system. That also includes the DJJ schools, where a lot of these students aren't even necessarily our students, they come from other places. So then you look at, 88%, so our 6 major high schools, so Laurel Hill, Baker, Crestview, Niceville, Fort Walton, Choctaw. Last year, their graduation rate was 94.8. So 94.8, and it was 88% as a district. This year, we went up 3 percentage points, so 91% as a district. Our 6 major high schools, as you can see there, are 96.7. So doing a good job. I appreciate the work that's involved to get that graduation rate up. But it is everybody. So we're working with our charter schools, we're working with our online schools to make sure that we have processes in place and supports in place to continue to get that to go up. But the 6 major high schools to be at 96.7, again, extremely proud. So then you look at acceleration points. And in essence, acceleration points simplistically, it's students taking higher level courses, CTE type courses, in order to be successful when they enter the workforce one day. Okay, so you get acceleration points, every county does. So middle school, as you can see, a lot of work has gone in to make sure that we have the correct, so to speak, CTE courses, the correct math progression at the middle school level. And over that 3-year period, we've gone from 63% all the way up to 77% in terms of getting that point value. So our middle school principals working with their teachers and staff have that going in the right direction. Want to continue to raise that bar, continue to go further. At the high school level, we had a little bit of a dip over a 3-year period, go from 63 to 67, but we went down 2 percentage points this year. So when you look at high school, so that's our CTE courses, but it's also our AP courses, our ACE courses, our IB courses. So even right now, as we sit here, a lot of next year's high school acceleration points are already done, because we won't know those results until July, which is why they do it now, and it's always a year behind, okay? But still continue to go up. What you don't see within those numbers is we did have some schools, some of our high schools that were in the upper 30s off the top of the head, and definitely in the lower 40s, that are now up in the upper 50s and towards the 60s, so they've gone up almost 20 percentage points during that time. So continuing to work with our schools on that, I'll just call it a progression.
Mr. Chambers, I have a question going back to the middle school acceleration points. So if the data shows that we have 77 there, if you look to the future, you would hope that that would continue to grow with the high school level. And looking at what middle school students are actually doing in school at this time, I mean, they're doing high school level work now. So, I mean, this is really, I know Dr. Small and her team over here, they do a great job of offering, getting that curriculum out to them. But, I mean, you got 6th graders that are doing Algebra 1 now,
So what you're saying makes logical sense, because there should be a continuity between middle school all the way to high school. The middle school acceleration points is its own calculation in itself. Get to high school, now it's a whole new calculation in of itself. So the two calculations are completely different. Now, to me, it would be a lot of sense to say that there's a continuity from whatever you're taking CTE-wise all the way through high school. Is there a track, and if kids are doing that, do you get acceleration points? That would make sense to me. The kids who get into algebra and geometry and then continue to go up into math, could there be acceleration points for that? Which that's not the case right now in the current formula all the way through high school. Could that be? Absolutely. But right now, they're two distinct, separate calculations.
So in reality, though, if they're taking Algebra 1 and geometry and advanced classes in middle school, and then they get to the high school, that has a negative effect on the high school when it comes to accelerate. Is that correct?
So I won't use the word negative, but I'll call there's a challenge there. So in Okaloosa, we have a percent of our students who will go to geometry. And so when students get to high school on the math side, a lot of our high schools are working with students such as myself when I was in high school that that are working hard to get better in math. In some districts, biology is done in 8th grade.
So
I think
the challenges for the high school.
The challenge is academic in terms of finding the teachers to teach those courses that routinely weren't offered in high school. I mean, you're starting to get into calculus and physics and all kinds of things for a lot of students. It's good, but it's difficult to sometimes even fill those positions, I think.
Right. So the whole system is a system, if that makes sense. The way that everything is calculated. So as a school district, I depend on Dr. Small and her group to help steer us in the correct academic paths, such as what you saw last year, which you'll see in a second. You're going to see a dip in 7th grade math, even though we're 18% above the state average, but that was anticipated because you now see the huge increase in 8th grade. So getting the correct mathematical progressions from middle school to high school is important. To have the right CTE courses while still making a difference for students and their future, all of this becomes paramount. If you're, I'm just going to say for lack of a better word, if you're sleeping at the wheel at the district level, you can slide quickly, which is why it's so important to have these smart individuals here at the district level, then working with our principals and then working with our teachers, because there's a grading system inside this, and if you don't do it right, things don't go well.
And I would just add, and our math people in here know this far better than I do, but when you start performing at this level, I think there is a concept, regression to the mean. And so there's, Mr. Heinle, you're the real expert on this, so there is it becomes, as Mr. Destin alluded to, it becomes more and more difficult. Yep. Because you basically reach the upper limit hypothesis, and so maintaining that level is really difficult, particularly with all the changes that you mentioned. And so again, good job.
Well, and I'll stay on this thought process for a second on the challenging piece. Because when you're at a certain level, and then the textbook cycle, okay, so you finally get used to the textbook, now new textbook. You get used to these standards, new standards. You get used to the assessment, new assessment. And I get, because you want to raise the bar on all these things, and I say all that not as a complaint, I say all that for the teacher in the classroom. When you're constantly changing, there's a challenge to that. So that's even more commendable. And that's what I said during COVID, when you looked at policemen, when you looked at firemen, and you looked at those first responders, in my mind, our teachers, staff, administrators are like first responders in terms of, and I'm not trying to take away at all of what first responders do, I'm talking about making a difference in kids' lives in challenging times. It's not easy. So that was the high school, so we did go down there. So on all acceleration, Dr. Small, Mr. Spolsky, Ms. Ross, Joe Pete, so a lot of conversations happen in terms of paths and making sure that we're on the right track to continue to move forward with acceleration points. This here, so this is in essence the state grading calculation. So obviously there's so much more behind all of this. I put this up there to say, so again, looking at the 3 years, but you look at, 3rd grade, we finally making some movement on 3rd grade, a 3% increase. And when you talk about a 3% increase, that's not easy just to get a 3% increase. I know some might say, well, it's only 3. 3 is definitely going in the right direction, but we still have work to do at the 3rd grade level, which means we still have work to do at the K through 2 level. Then you move on to student achievement in ELA as a whole. So that's grade 3 all the way through grade 10. And that 3-year period, you're seeing a 5% increase. you come on through, and I'm not gonna hit every single one, but on the achievement level, so that's the percent of students on grade level, the percent of students on grade level, you're gonna see an increase there in each one, and a pretty good increase over the 3-year period of each one, so continue to go in the right direction. Learning gains, as Dr. White fully remembers, it's a whole different calculation. So if you're at level 1, there's 2 opportunities to get a learning gain to go up to a higher level 1 or an even higher level 1. If you're level 2, to go up to a higher level 2. If you're level 3, 4, 5, to maintain or go up and not drop. So learning gains, that is a tough piece, and that's a tough piece anywhere. We want to get those learning gains for students. Slight increase in the ELA gains, a little bit of a drop in the lowest 25%. So the state will dictate who your lowest 25% of students are. You want to have supports for those students, which we do have supports for those students. So we continue to work hard there. The math gains, overall math gains up, and then the lowest 25% flat. So that's still an area of focus for us. So at the end of this, I will have areas of focus that myself and Dr. Small look at that become a district-wide focus, and learning gains will continue to be one of those focus areas. Coming over to the acceleration, you can see what we just talked about and the graduation rates, and then you see the point value.
And Superintendent, there used to be a lot of extra points there for learning gains. Is that still the case? I mean, if you move those kids up?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely a goal of what we shoot for.
And I think everyone understands how difficult that can be. You take your high performers who are already high performers, and you're going to move them up. That's even more difficult. And then your children that need help and assistance, it's hard for them too.
And then the far right, you can see on that the total percentage of points, so 64, 66, and 68. So continuing to go in the right direction. And you look at that in 2024, 64% was an A. Next year will be 70%. So you just think about that. This right here on the percent of students on grade level, this is just an area that I was proud. There's 21 categories here in ELA math, and then on the social studies and sciences as well. So from grade 3 through 10 and the 21 different categories, we've gone up in 20 of the 21 categories. The 7th grade math that we went down, that was a strategic move of some of those students who were in 7th grade, taking an 8th grade assessment. And you'll see here in a second, the 8th grade went up dramatically. The 7th grade came down a little bit, but the 7th grade still 18 percentage points above the state average. 89% of our schools were in A or B, so almost 90%, so almost 9 out of 10 of our schools be in an A or B. And every time I go speak to different organizations, you know, this is something that is important. And as you know, realtors, the military, whomever, you know, they want to be able to come to places where, based on a rating system, there's strong schools. So just appreciate the work again that's happening. And I will say, which you'll see here in a second, our C schools working hard right now, going through all of their data, working with teachers, making adjustments of things that they can do. So, you know, where we are in Okaloosa, you know, I'll say, do they want to be a C school? They would tell you no. But it's not due to lack of effort. So working hard. And you can see here, so we had 19 A schools the year before. So this time last year at 19, we went up to 23 A schools. We had 15 B schools and down to 10 B schools this year, which makes sense because if you're going to go up in A schools, you're going to come down on the B schools. And then we added 1 C school. This year I always like to do, celebrating those who went from one grade level to the next. You had Kenwood and Wright going from a C to a B, which is fantastic. And I'll tell you, Wright Elementary And off the top of the head, with 80-something% free and reduced lunch students, never an excuse, working hard for their kids, what they do over there, amazing, to breach into the B school. I know Mrs. Boyd over there is over the moon with her faculty and staff, so just could not be more proud there. Kenwood coming back to a B and wanting to continue to move in the right direction. Just appreciate that. But then you see the B to A's. And I want to go from the bottom. So Riverside, in essence, one of the biggest schools that we have. I would say if you asked Ms. LaVictor, hey, was last year easy? I think she would say it was probably a challenging year. So to receive this A at the end, big deal. Northwood, a lot of strategic growth over the last number of years to get this A. And I'll say when Dr. Donna was there in the first semester, based on what she was seeing, she said to me, we will be an A this year. And just said it with pure confidence. I said, okay. Well, she was right. Meg's had substantial growth this year, substantial growth. Laurel Hill, when you looked at, K-12 school, when you looked at their data starting to come in, you were like, wow. Especially because the numbers are so small. One student can impact you either way as it pertains to data. And then Eglin, I think it's a big deal. They were closer to a C last year than to a B, than to an A. They were closer to a C, and to move to the A, just great work over there. Baker 1 point away from an A, 1 point away from an A. And last year, they jumped over the hump and made an A. If the criteria stayed the same, they would have been an A. But the criteria went up. So still going in the right direction. And then just consistency. So these schools have all been an A-rated school 3 years or more. Shoal River joined the list this year, and Lewis joined the list this year. Shoal River joined the list this year, and Lewis. Yes, sir.
Mr. Superintendent, question on the C schools. The ratio of the ELL students in the C school, are they consistent? Is that a possible causal effect?
What I will say is Longwood was a C, and they do have a high number of ELL students. They do a great job of working with them. They saw growth within their C. Mm-hmm. We saw growth within their C, but reality is we have a lot of ELL students there. Mary Esther was a C, and not as many ELL students there. Choctaw was a C, and that pipeline does go to Choctaw. And then Shalimar was a C, not as many ELLs as those other schools that we talked about. So there's always information within the data, but I'll say that any of the schools, whether it's free and reduced lunch, whether it's ELL, whether it's ESC, whether it's what they call some of these subgroups that they have you look at, there's a lot going on in the schools for those students. With ELL students who work extremely hard, and a lot of them will make growth, substantial growth, but many of them come in, they do not speak English. Some of them don't read in our language or theirs. But again, what our teachers and staff do with those students is pretty remarkable in terms of getting them to continue to move forward.
Well, this is a pure anecdote, but in the few visits I've been able to have over at Pryor, I think there are a lot of very positive things heading in the right direction. That pipeline is headed straight to Choctaw, and they have a substantial amount of ELL kids. But they're making big strides. So I'm excited. Same thing when I saw it at Meg's, I was beaming because I know that they're working really hard. And they're in the ones that are the direct competition with the Les Jacksons of the world. And that is, to be able to start moving it in the right direction and competing, I couldn't be more proud of them.
This is just ELA proficiency, so you can just see visually going up in the right direction over a 3-year period. Secondary, the same thing. To see 9th and 10th grade continue to go up, 9th 1 percentage point, 10th grade to go up 6 percentage points, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So like to see the continued growth, but if you look at the 3-year growth in these areas, again, they're pretty substantial. On the learning gain side, you see a little bit of an increase, over a 3-year period, slight increase and a little bit flat as well, but still, I'd say going in the right direction, not wanting to go backwards, but that won't be the case everywhere. On 6 through 10, you'll see going up, 8th grade coming down a little bit, 9th grade coming down a little bit, and 10th grade going up. So overall, on the ELA side, going in the right direction. On the math side, you can see the elementary, on the students on grade level, going up in elementary. And again, look at the 3-year piece there. On the secondary, the same thing. Now 7th grade math, again, that drop, that is there, and that was not a not anticipated drop. I think that 69 there in the green now will be our baseline with the adjustments that we've made with 7th and 8th grade. So we'll see where we go from there going forward. And then you can see algebra and geometry. And I'll say, I think it was 2 years ago on the algebra and geometry, we probably had some interesting conversations on algebra and geometry. And I'll say Mrs. Gillis over there working with our staff, working with principals, specifically working with teachers, algebra and geometry really going in the right direction. And that's a lot of work from middle school, but especially the high school there. So just good things going on. And then the learning gains, it's some of that similar story. You see slight increases in the elementary, 6th grade, 7th grade, 1% down. The interesting thing on math learning gains, when you get to algebra and geometry, so algebra and geometry, 2 completely different courses. The course before algebra might be pre-algebra. It might be a different course. And so how we calculate learning gains across these completely different courses is interesting. But even with that, our learning gains in math, especially as it pertains to that track where it was leading to algebra to geometry in the course before, was not going in the right direction. It's now going in a much better direction. So just again, appreciate that work. And then you can see the learning gains on the science, and that's what I mean when you were looking at in the 30s or you look at the 50s continuing to go up. But again, it's very hard when you're going across these courses. The science proficiency, over the moon there. When you look at the blue, if we went back, we're basically kind of doing well, but kind of flat. Doing well, but flat. Mrs. Ellis and her team over there, again, when I say working with teachers and schools, they're literally out there almost every day working with teachers and schools. So there's a lot that's going in there. So now if you look at the 3-year jump from 58 to 64, 60 to 66, 69 to 78 in the biology area, if we go back to the blue area, we probably had some interesting conversations there as well. But looking at what they've done over that 3-year period, just extremely proud. And then you get to the social studies. As you can see there on the civics side, from 73 to 87, we did make a programmatic change where civics is now in 8th grade and not in 7th grade. We shifted also where the students are taking U.S. history and trying to have that progression stronger. But you can see there 87 in civics, U.S. history. From the previous year, you see good growth, but that's also an area of focus for myself, Dr. Small. We want to continue to go up on the U.S. history side, but the 2-year jump, we had good growth over the 3-year flat.
And superintendent, and colleagues, when you hear that we don't have civics in the schools, be sure and show them that, okay?
Yeah. And almost a 90% success rate, so to speak. So,
Mr. Chambers, real quick, on all the slides that you just presented to us, I noticed in the bottom left-hand corner there, all students are included in this. There was no exclusion. So I personally think this is a true testament to the hard work that our people have done in the classrooms, the support that they've got, but most of all, the students who have performed here. So,
and I appreciate you catching that, because we have some pretty serious conversations about all students, no exclusions, because the school grading calculation does exclude. You have to be here in both FTE counts, the October and February. So in many areas, our numbers are higher than this, but they're Joe Pete calculations. And because they're Joe Pete calculations, we don't put them on here because it's not a state calculation. Joe Pete's calculations are correct. So on the school grade, if we had the ability to get this from the state, some of these numbers would be even higher, because some students, if they're not there for both FTE periods, or for some categories of students that haven't been in the US long enough, so they don't count either. But this is everybody in here, and that comes from state data, so we don't try to manipulate what comes here, so it's just everyone's on the same page. So that's probably call it the abbreviated version of the summary of how we did. And again, just, and when I say proud, I don't mean that with any less emphasis than what the word implies, because a lot goes into this from so many different entities. So again, from our teachers, staff, administrators, and principals, and district staff, just extremely proud. With that, I wanted Mrs. Perry to come forward and talk about this Fitch rating. And you're going to see the A and the A, but now you're going to see the plus, and you're going to understand, not that you don't already, but you're going to understand the significance of this Fitch rating as well.
And Mr. Destin, if I might just, Superintendent, tell you, appreciate so much this report. It could have been far different, and I know that in some districts, if they go over all this, it looks a lot different. So thank you to you and your staff and all the teachers and principals and everybody else involved in producing such a, really what amounts to a magnificent result. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Right, so the reason these ratings are so important, when we need to get money to build these large buildings, it's not like a person can go to the bank and get a loan. We have to convince investors to invest in us. And one of the ways you do that is with having good ratings. So when we did this, I had to do an interview with Fitch Ratings to let them know how the last year had been. And they know that so many districts are dipping down into their fund balances, they're losing enrollment, they're having many, many problems, and they wanted to know, what are we doing? How are we handling things? And you told them that we have money set aside for FTE reserves, which I was surprised. Our investor advisor, Jerry Ford, he said most districts don't do that, which surprised me. He said, make sure you stress that. You know, how we had the money set aside to cover that. We were prepared for our enrollment losses, and we are still able to maintain our fund balance. And how we are going into doing our marketing and trying to get kids back into the schools and the reimagining. And so based on all of this information, they said that they considered us to still be an AA plus and stable. And Jerry Ford's office said, right now, that's pretty unheard of. He said most of the districts are dropping ratings because of all the problems that everyone's having with the enrollment and the funding. So we're very proud of ourselves.
And for the benefit of the public, that would just mean that districts, when they need money, they're going to end up paying more for it in the long term, right?
Right, if they can get people to invest in them, yes.
Right.
Yes, it affects your interest rate and whether or not they're going to buy your bonds.
Right, and that's a big deal for us to as we continue to grow and we continue to spend the tax dollars wisely, not overspending, because we are making the correct decisions to keep these ratings high. It makes it more affordable for us as opposed to many other districts to be able to continue that growth.
Yes, sir.
And I think you just made a case for the district to maintain some reserves.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Actually, we make money off of it, because our reserves are high enough, our rating is good enough, our bond offering was so low, and we get that money, and while we're building it, that money is making money, and it's costing, we actually have to be careful, because the IRS says, well, we want some of that money. So we're in a very good situation for that.
Yes.
And with that piece said, so we all know there's still challenging times. We already heard that over the course of the last 3 years, we've made over $40 million of adjustments. So there's been about a $40 million challenge. I think we've received of additional revenue. I think the additional revenue during that time was about $5-ish million. So $5-ish million. So of that $40 to $42 million worth of challenges, $5 million of additional revenue. So that's about 37 million of literal adjustments that we've had to make to ensure. When you look at last year this time, fast forward a year forward, when you know that you're 1,000 students less, so that hits us just like it's hitting school districts across the state. When she talks about, back up, that 1,000 to 1,100, that's about $11 million that you now have to adjust for. Then you move forward with that FTE reserve, that if you don't put money in that FTE reserve, then what does that mean? If you don't have any in there, then that means you're gonna pull from somewhere else. If you have money there, then you're gonna pull from there to offset the challenges that are already there. We appreciate in this current budget that's there, the amount of money that was there for the 10-year plus teachers, for those who were with us X number of years in Florida. But the money for the 9 through first year teachers was not there. Was not there for staff or admin. So you have to adjust for that as well. So I say all that to say that the Fitch rating is pretty remarkable, what Julie and her staff still able to do to keep us strong, because if we go forward and have to do something else substantial, new school, which I'm not saying we're doing, new wing, which I'm not saying we're doing, but when those type of things happen, you have to have a strong rating. Or, like you just said, or you're gonna pay more money. So, still very challenging, but very excited about this rating during challenging times.
So, Ms. Perry, double A plus here, that's pretty good. Is there a higher rank, triple A?
Higher for some businesses, but not school districts. Don't go any higher than that.
Okay, so we're at the.
We're at the higher school
All right,
districts.
congratulations. Keep us safe.
Mr. Spolsky.
Vice Chair Destin, Board Superintendent. I'll be brief, but some important information. August 1st, 10 days before school starts, we're going to stuff the bus. We just want to say thank you to all of our local Walmarts, Niceville, Destin's, Fort Walton's, Crestviews. All of the Walmarts will be there. Cumulus, WER, Channel 3, Salvation Army. This is a big, big deal where our students and our families benefit with this big drive. So really excited about that. Purposeful today, wearing my Okaloosa Public School Foundation name tag because it is a big partnership with Ms. Tate and our board to get this done. Also, don't forget all of the energy that Dr. Small, Superintendent Chambers, has put together with the Reimagine campaign. This is really going to be an exciting year if you have a little one joining VPK. kindergarten, first or second grade. There's going to be some great things going on in these classrooms where they can explore, they can build relationships, purposeful play, all the things we talked about, where they can thrive literally from day one. So we are really, really juiced up about that. And we're talking about little ones. Up in Crestview, we have organized the Marquee Cinema 10 movie night for VPK and our kindergartners. I think we already have close to 50 youngsters signed up for that. We're really excited. Ms. Dale's team, also Dana Hodges with the Early Learning Coalition, and once again, the Okaloosa Public School Foundation supporting all that. So we've got some exciting things happening in our district. I do not know what, Damie, what movies? Sing, Mr. Bryan, sing. The last thing I'll say before I turn it over to Mr. Meyer to talk to us is our superintendent said the dynamics are different. A lot of things changing. And I will say this because he's a very humble leader, but last week at the 70th Chamber of Commerce recognition, two of the folks, Superintendent Chambers and our PIO, Ms. Card, received awards from the Chamber. And we are all just very excited to work and do the work with you, sir.
Ms. Dale, as Mr. Meyer comes up, does an outstanding job and her team getting these movie nights organized and attended.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Wanted to come back to you guys. The last board meeting, we talked about Pineview and the status of where Pineview was at. So we felt like talking about Destin in the same concept. A lot is going on. We are deep in the fourth quarter right now, so we got a few weeks before teachers are coming back on campus. So we're aware of that, and they're getting antsy to get in the building, but we got some things to wrap up. So I got a few slides and one video, and we'll talk through any questions. But I will say, to Mr. Chambers' point about curriculum, and when you pull back the curtain, so to speak, we have a lot of work going on everywhere from our facilities and our maintenance department, Jacobs Titan, Lord & Son, and all the subcontractors. When you go on these campuses on a daily basis, we have a lot of work going on. You'll see the status of where we're at, and I feel confident that we're going to be ready, but they'll still be there for some days after we get students on campus, finishing up some things that we need to do behind the scenes, so to speak. So,
Mr. Meyer, do you
yes, sir.
expect us to have the CO by August 1st? Is that what I heard you say last time for both facilities?
Yes, sir. So right now, we're working with the principals and the teachers. The last week of July, we're going to open up both campuses for a few hours where teachers and staff can start moving things onto the campus. We're going to block off some paths where they can get into their spaces, and then once they leave, we'll continue the work. And at the end of that week, we're looking at July 31st. I'm going to turn around and look at Joel Linder back there, but on July 31st, we anticipate.
Mr. Meyer, I just have to add, I've known Mr. Linder for a long time, and so long ago that our hair was a different color. And I'll just say, if anybody can get it done, is Mr. Linder and you and your folks.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. White, for that. And I will say, it was only 18 months ago that we broke ground on this, and it's really remarkable the amount of work and what's transpired over those 18 months. So, yeah, a lot of credit to Joel and his staff and putting this together. So, yes, July 31st, we're hoping to open the building once we get the COs. There are some spaces that do have the COs marked off on. Now we're just waiting to coordinate to getting on the campuses. So, well, and then once we talk about Destin, we're going to show you just a couple other projects that not only were reopening Pineview and Destin, we had some other large projects that we decided to squeeze in this summer as well. Why not?
Just make it interesting.
Yes, sir. So here's a video of where Destin is. This was about a week or two ago. We do have turf around that playground now, but you can see the two-story building there to the left, the pavilion and a blacktop. That's looking at the front of the school now, so there'll be another single point of entry right where it says Destin Elementary. There to the left is the multi-purpose building, and then you can see some of the parking and the new road there to the left. This is the car rider line and staff parking. We have a canopy down actually on that on the side of the building there. That will be the new car rider drop-off, which is the south side of the school. But to go in, the students will make their way into a lobby atrium area, getting on campus. So, roof is done, the outside is done. This is the back. No, this is another back of the school. But looking at the car rider line, there right in the middle is where the atrium is. Both sides are classrooms on the bottom and top floor.
Talk about the significance of the car rider line.
Yeah, so coming off of bidding now, we'll have a lot more space when we get into, let's see if we can get that, I need some help on this card. Thank you, Paul. So, now, like most of our campuses, the car rider line can get out and install traffic on different roads. So we purposely designed the car rider line to come off of Benning now, and plenty of staging areas. So when they get there early or lined up to drop off their students, there won't be any cars out onto any other road slowing down traffic in the morning and in the afternoon.
So, Mr. Meyer, did I hear you correctly that on the new facility where the entrance is, the atrium, that is going to be the main entrance now?
I'm sorry. No, the front entry is now on the side, and then the car rider line, when they get dropped off and go into the school in the morning, the entrance will be into the lobby atrium.
Okay. So, but they'll still use the current where they check in now, correct? That's what I'm asking.
No, during the day, once the school is closed, the new front entrance and visitors entrance will be on the side of the school.
Okay, so they won't have to use the old one at all?
No, sir.
Okay.
Staff will be able to, but
Okay.
the new front will be on the side there.
Well, I'll just hop in and say, it's a block away from my house. I've been watching it this whole time. To Joel Linder's team, to your team, the amount of progress that has occurred in the very short amount of time that you guys have put to task is remarkable. It really, really is. I can't get a cup of coffee in Destin right now with half the town asking me if I can get them. You know, I'm friends with the school board member. Can you get me in? I'm so excited. I want to get in there and see how beautiful it is. And all I can tell them is be patient. You're gonna see it and you're gonna be amazed. It's incredible, the work that you guys have done. It's a beautiful facility. The entire town's so very, very much excited to get in there. I know the teachers are excited. And I want to commend a few of my board members that were here and the superintendent and Mr. McGinnis, because the reality is that before even setting yourselves on the task to bring fifth grade back and expand the footprint of Destin Elementary, which has needed it for a long time because it's bursting at the seams, you had to think about the land acquisition. So the entire stormwater and the entire new car rider ramp design is courtesy of the fact that you guys had the foresight to purchase the land adjacent to the school district about 2.5 years ago when it became available from a purchase, because I think it was originally slated to become a nursing home. It was all vacant land, but there was a push to have it developed and put into a healthcare facility. This board and superintendent and some community members had the foresight to say, hey, listen, this is important, and this was something that certainly needed to be brought into the fold of the school district portfolio so that this project could be accomplished. And you guys started that, and I just don't think the public particularly understands how much foresight and how important it was that you guys did that. And so, as the Destin rep, thank you to the superintendent, thank you to Mr. McGinnis, thank you, Dr. White, thank you, Tim Bryant. Ms. Ivanchuk was here, I believe she voted on that as well. And I think Ms. Gardner also, whose seat I occupy now, because without that land, this would be a very different project. It would still be important, it would still be profoundly impactful, but the exponential impact that we're going to get from this project is courtesy of that land acquisition and that foresight. So deeply appreciate that.
Thank you for saying that. And after that was approved, there was a lot of work with our facilities department and the city of Destin. So they worked hand in hand to get this up and going. And Mr. McGinnis, so I appreciate everybody involved. So this is the front of the school now where visitors will report to. This is, again, a couple weeks old, but that is the main entrance and the front office area where the attendant secretaries would be. So just a couple pictures of the front. This is a conference room in the administration area, and then again the front office once you get buzzed into the school. So you can see flooring, the ceiling, lights, furniture now is starting to be staged and put together in these areas. This is the entryway. So when you come off the car rider ramp, you'll come into a large atrium space where you'll have stairs going upstairs, and then you'll go through the building and be on the main campus if your classroom was not in that new wing. It's a grand space. It looks amazing. So kids, they'll be excited when they walk into that space. And above that space on the second floor, it's kind of hard to see on that picture to the left, is this classroom that's up there, which is a STEM classroom with glass front, and they'll be able to see all the STEM projects that are going on in that space. So looks great. The school is also excited about this space. So it's a multi-purpose room, but you can see the ceiling, and it's relatively close to a gym size. There's no basketball goals in there, but they'll be able to use this for PE and other activities throughout the school. So it'll be great space that the community can use as well. So. This is a picture of the STEM classroom and then just one of the other classrooms in the wing. So flooring is down, cabinetry is in there, and now it's been full, getting the furniture put together in there. So moving along quickly. The grounds look amazing. There's a lot of turf in between the buildings. The new playground, which now has turf around it. The canopies, the sidewalks to get around the campus are all coming together. And like I said during the video, sod out front and landscaping and trees and irrigation are all being laid out throughout the campus. So it's really looking good. And again, we'll be ready, and on that 31st of this month, Mr. Bryant, we'll be having staff get in there and using this space. Any questions about Destin before I move just to a couple other projects? Yep. Okay, excited. So we have a lot of other capital projects that are affecting our school district. Here are some that were either done second semester of last school year or potentially started the first part of the school year, but we wrapped these up. Edwin's old cafeteria renovation looks great. Meigs Middle School, we did some restrooms, and I'll show you some pictures of that. We continue to do restrooms on that campus. We did some HVAC work. We did some spaces for our band at Crestview and Niceville. Parking, a lot of different places, with Crestview was the big one. And we did some priority roofing throughout the district, including Elliott Point, which Elliott Point we continue the second phase this summer as well. So if you have not been out to Edwin's, that space really turned out well. The old cafeteria was converted to a media center and a STEM space, and that's some of the pictures you see there, but also additionally some upfront office admin space and a teacher's lounge and a conference room. So just turned out great, and then we were able to put some classrooms in the media center, so they're using that now. Here's the two restrooms at Meigs. So this was a complete gut. Dr. White shaking his head because he was out there at Meigs for a long time. And then,
That was the old Takahatchee, right?
yes, sir. So it's an old building, and we found that out as we started busting into walls and foundations, and really had to get both of these areas, and now we're doing it on the other ramps as well. So, but the final product turns out really nice, and now it's modern and clean, and it was needed on campus. So we're going to try to continue this throughout the district where we can, because there's some facilities that the restrooms just need to be upgraded.
So, Mr. Meyer, I'm noticing in this particular picture of the bathrooms, and I know you deal with this quite regularly because it happens, and that's the vandalism of our facilities. And I noticed like the sinks here, that's gonna be pretty hard to vandalize, in
Yes.
my opinion. I mean,
Yes, sir.
you're definitely have to do some serious, damage to get that off of there. But, I would just appreciate the fact that, you know, you look at this bathroom and people can see how nice they are, but the reality of it is that's not always the case, and a lot of it is because of vandalism and all that. So, and when we get complaints that bathrooms can't be used, typically it's because they've been vandalized.
Yes, sir. It's good
And
point.
that happens, and the other thing is sometimes we don't think about the amount of traffic that goes through those bathrooms, because that's a hallway bathroom, so there may be, I don't know, 600, 700 visits a day
Yes, sir.
in there. So, and that creates its own set of problems just to begin with.
It does.
But Mr. Bryant, we always caught them.
We do look at the right material when we start designing these, and we reinforced some of the areas that if kids were climbing on or getting on and riding on to try to prevent some of that. But
Well, the reason why I mentioned that is because last week I did send pictures of a
Yes.
school that I represent, and, you know, one of the things that stood out was the fact that the vandalism had really taken its toll on those bathrooms, and it's not our newest school anymore, but it's one of our newer schools. And so I appreciate you know, what it looks like. It'd be a lot harder to vandalize, so.
appreciate it. Some roofing projects, like I said, LA Point, but here's another example. The Niceville band roof was leaking, and we just renovated the band room, so we needed to make sure that the roof wasn't leaking as well. The band rooms, this space turned out really good for the programs. It added additional storage space, restrooms, some storage cabinetry. We had to put a lift in at one of the schools, but the space was needed as those programs were expanding. The parking lot at Crestview High School, we wrapped that up, and we continue to do that this summer. So by the time school starts, all 3 phases will be done.
Okay, I gotta interject on the Crestview parking lot. So, of course, I drive by there quite regularly. I haven't been back there to look, but I'm noticing the bus ramp is being done right now, and I'm sure the back part over by the stadium.
Yes.
Now, will that also come out to that entrance side too? Will that side be?
Yes, sir, it'll go from the back side of the school.
So everything will be pretty much done?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And these are scheduled to be done over the summer. So we decided to add some of these projects, like I said. The STEM school and Niceville High School cafeterias are getting upgraded. The Bruner HVAC, this one was scheduled for a long time, and we had to put it in over the summer. And I'd like to give Miss Heather Graham-Williams a lot of credit, because we had to go in there, and the school did not have AC for the entire summer. And now we brought in portables, but they could only cool down the space so much. And I want to give credit to her and her staff for working through this. Again, Mr. Linder's help and the contractors. We knew we had to get this done quick so we could get people back on campus. But summer in Florida is hot, and the building was hot, but we worked through it. It is done now. It is cooling. There's two spaces that we're still working on back on the roof, but now the chiller and the piping is done. But just goes to show you some of the people throughout the district, when we have to do things, they help, and we appreciate that. Of course, the big ones, Pineview and Destin, wrapping up, parking lot, and then we're going to continue with the district-wide restroom renovations. Let's see if I got a couple more pictures here. So this is Plu and Ruckle. This is their old cafeteria space. I don't have a few pictures, but it turned out great. Ruckle's band is the one on the left. That's the ceiling, and now it has flooring in there, and it looks really good. That band program will really enjoy this space. In turn, we also renovated the old band space for now chorus, but that's going to be done where they're going to be able to use that as we start school. And here's an example on the right of Plu's new classrooms, which we had 4 classrooms and gang restrooms on that campus in the old cafeteria space. And this is actually RAM was a subcontractor, and they did a great job, good communicators, and they worked with Jacobs Titan, and they're gonna finish on time as well. So great space being done.
I mean, it's amazing to see the transformation, especially at Plu, to see, I mean, going in there when it was the lunchroom, I don't even know how they functioned in there, you know, as a lunchroom, but now they got the new cafetorium, but to see the classrooms finished the way they are, see Edwin's and I know the other schools that we're gonna be working on in the future, how exciting, you know, and they're state of the art, they look beautiful.
Really makes a difference.
Yes, it does.
This was some of the new piping that they had to put in Bruner. It was a lot of work. That piping was falling apart. It had been there for a long time and was rusting through, and they unfortunately have to turn everything off and drain the cooling tower to do some of this work, but they did it quickly and efficiently. We're wrapping that up. Not to mention, Pineview and Destin gets a lot of attention, but we are opening another school in the north in Crestview, and this is OTC North. So this is done besides a few things with the equipment being in place. I know Mr. Bryant was worried about that, but here's a few pictures. Again, maybe a few weeks old, but the automotive space is there on the left, the welding shop there on the right, some community space there on the top right. It's going to be a great facility for those people that are going to school in the north side.
Well, I mean, I saw pictures a couple weeks ago. I haven't been in there since Mr. Chambers and I went in there, and I'll just tell you, Joel, you have anything to do with this too?
Yes, he did.
Okay, I mean, you're right. I mean, I told the superintendent, are we even going to be ready?
Yeah.
And to see what has transpired it's totally amazing. Yeah. So. And it's so exciting because, again, this is another opportunity for people to take advantage of our technical college that wouldn't normally get a chance because of the travel to get to the South End and all. So we're just really excited. So talk about an investment, Mr. Destin. This is a huge investment.
I agree. And then a couple more examples of restrooms that we're trying to do. OTC South, those two restroom pictures on the left, those were old gang restrooms as well. We had to go in there and completely gut it, new foundation, and we built it back. But again, they turned out great. In Laurel Hill, we had an opportunity to go in those locker rooms and provide them with new lockers, and that turned out good as well.
Now I have to comment on that too, is that, you know, my pride and joy up there in Laurel Hill, you know, the fact that they now have a brand new lockers, you know, I know they put the LED lighting in there. It's an inviting place now. I appreciate the superintendent and everybody involved in helping make that a reality for them. I know there's always the thought that, you know, they get left behind, and, you know, the truth is that we're really working hard to help them get the facilities that they need and the upgrades that they need. So I am appreciative as a school board member that they have a new locker room with, that's really a really nice job. Now, is there more things we could do? We could, but I think just the fact that they have an inviting facility for them now, and it's got all new equipment and all new lockers, it's really amazing, and I appreciate getting the LED lighting in there too. So.
And that is it from the capital standpoint. Any questions, or we will continue to push to get things done.
All right. And the last one, Ms. Maxey, in terms of where are we with hiring?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chambers, and good morning. Okay, so we are buzzing bees right now in human resources, risk management, professional services, getting everybody hired. And so as of this morning, we have had 48 brand new hires to the school district that are completely through the hiring process. 161 transfers and reassignments, and we talked a lot about that last time. And then right now, there are 63 applicants who have been offered jobs, and we are working to get them hired. And then there are 10 who have pending offers out, so we're waiting on those 10 to accept offers with us. And we have 65 open instructional job openings right now, so that's all for instructional. So I wanted to go back to last school year to see what we looked like at this exact same time frame, and it's very similar. We had, last year, we had hired 36 compared to our 48, and we had 59 job openings at this time compared to the 65. So I imagine when I come to you next time, that number is going to be a lot lower. I think there's going to be a lot of button hitting this week, where those principals are making those decisions and getting them to us. But that's where we are for instructional. And then for support, we've had 66 filled positions, that's transfers and new hires for support positions, and we have 51 open support jobs right now. We are going to be hosting, I know we talked about the bus driver job fair, so I just wanted to let everyone know we are going to be having a bus driver job fair on July 23rd at our Transportation North office, and that's where you can come and try to drive the bus. We'll have those trainers so you can actually get behind the wheel, take it around the parking lot, see if it would be something that you are interested in. So we are definitely going to be there. HR staff will be there to help.
Make sure they drive the 27 model, okay?
Yes, yes, air conditioned, beautiful air conditioned buses will be on site and available. Yes, that is where we are. Like I said, we are buzzing bees. I'm very proud of the HR staff and getting all of these people hired as quickly as they have. Risk management's getting them their insurance information, and then professional services is making sure everyone gets those certifications. So I'm very proud of this staff. We are working very hard, and like I said, I think a lot of those buttons are going to get pressed this week, and I will be back next time with even better news. Yes.
All right. And I think I used the phrase earlier, pulling the curtain back a little bit, but so much happens behind the scenes in HR, in maintenance, in facilities, in MIS, in academic student services. So I just appreciate the food services, everybody. Just appreciate the work that happens, because it's the hard work at the schools to be prepared to start school, but it's also at the district level prepared to start school as well. So it's everybody working together. So I appreciate that. The next meeting, you will, not necessarily you, but others will get the answer to, what do y'all do during the summer? So you'll get a glimpse of that, and that's all, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Okay, we're going to move on to board members' announcements, which we've got an opportunity for. Dr. White, you want to start?
Sure, be fine. I don't have any notes, so I'll try to remember and try to get it right. I'd like to thank my alma mater and also the school, the high school that I serve in my school board district, and that's Choctawhatchee High School, because this past weekend they hosted the Florida Community Football, I guess you could call it a clinic. And Connie, my wife, took our two grandsons there to that event, and they had a blast. It was conducted by Aaron Deal, and I know his wife, Nikki, assisted, and I had the pleasure of coaching her when she was 5. So it was a great event, and my grandsons came home, and that's all they could talk about was tackling the big dummy. And so they had a great experience. And so special thanks to Choctawhatchee and Coach Frank Beasley, because he was there and he helped organize. And I'll just tell you that we oftentimes, or at least in my case, and long ago, I used to not think about the kind of work that goes into doing something like that at all levels, all the way from the bathrooms to you name it, getting the kids on the field. So just special thanks to Choctawhatchee and to Florida and to Aaron for doing all that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Destin. You know, going back to celebrating the scores that we got, and I know we mentioned about everybody that's involved in it, but a special thank you to the parents who make sure their kids get to school, that are prepared for school, and that they can excel in school, because it's the parents or the grandparents or whoever is in charge of those students getting them to school so they can benefit from a great education to get these results is incredible for one, but the parents, we have to give them the credit too, because they are the ones that make sure their kids either get on that bus or they drive them to school, they push them at home, they work with them, along with supporting our teachers who are in the classroom. So very much appreciative of our parents, and to get the grades that we have is a testament to them also. But other than that, I have nothing else, just to say, I hope everybody's enjoying their summer. I do feel for Bruner, because, I mean, even though my air conditioner was working at the house, we've had the fans running too, because it's hot. It is hot. So, but thank you to everybody who's working behind the scenes during the summer. And only how many more days we got until school? It's hard to believe. So, but thank you. Thank you, Mr. Destin.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. I've only got a few items that I might just say for tonight. I've enjoyed the spirited discussion today, and we're brushing up against 11, so I'll just say whatever I've got for tonight. Mr. Hyman?
Same, I'll do mine tonight.
Do you want to do president?
Nope, tonight.
All right, you got time to study. Okay, that ends board members' announcements. Tonight we'll do 14.1, we'll do public comment, that's the yellow card. And then looks like 15 and 16 handled themselves during public notices. Staff, colleagues, any other comments? Ms. Appleberg, anything today? Okay, everyone, we'll see you tonight.